What's up, YouTube? What's up, guys? Today we're here with a little debate. For most of you that are watching, probably follow me on Twitter and saw the things I've been tweeting out right just in the past 10 minutes or so. So mainly, I got three guys on the call with me. I would like you guys to present yourselves in order. Michael, you go first. Alrighty. Then we got Nate Shat. Oh wait, one sec. Fail, 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 fail. I don't have you guys right now. I just realized. All right,
Uh,
Michael, talk.
Hello.
All right, we're good now. Now you go. All right, Michael, go first.
All right. Hi. My name is Michael Kent. I'm also known as Emotion. I part own Dassault, and I run it on a daily basis. Yeah, I'm part of the European COD scene, obviously, and I'm one of the people that obviously tries to push it forward as much as possible. So
All
that's
right,
me.
Nate.
YouTube. How the fuck you doing? Hey guys, it's Nate Shot, and some of you might know me from my YouTube gameplays. Others, my competitive background. I've been in the Call of Duty pro scene since 2008, and I'm ready for some debatage.
Brian.
My name is Brian Steves. I'm a writer and reporter at ESFIworld.com. I basically just cover Call of Duty for them, and I guess I would consider myself an amateur Call of Duty player.
All right, so we got this turtle guy, pro player, and amateur slash ESFI writer. Mainly, what we're going to be debating about is the point of debate is the fact that some people feel like pro status kind of like separates the community in general. Obviously, I don't feel that way. I feel like it gives people a reason to play. But mainly, we're just going to be going round. We're doing like a round table thing where everyone's going to give out their opinion. We can like rebuttal on it and like mainly give you guys an insight of what I feel is mainly the idea I'm trying to bring out is by like giving a ranking. So mainly, you'd be going to all these events, LAN event, online event, any event that exists, and there would be a certain rating on the event. So mainly, if it's a big event, you get more points for it since there's more teams appearing. If it's a medium event, and so on. Like it would be more in depth and more specific if we got to it. But mainly, some people feel that it kind of like wouldn't help us. But the way I see it personally is it would give M teams a reason to fight. It would give people more to fight for than just the money. It would kind of like where MLG had pro status last year and in the past. Obviously, this wouldn't give you any sort of maybe like seeding. It would help. It would obviously help for seeding for certain events, but also the fact where it wouldn't really give you like special things like MLG had pro status gave you pool play and such, where people felt like that was kind of unfair, which I agree with. Especially for the lower teams that were in like seeded like 16 and such. Some teams weren't really deserving because they attended the first event, which gave them the 16th place, and it's really hard to like get out of that seeding. So mainly, Michael, what's your input on it?
I just think it's a bit pointless, to be honest. There's no point having a pro seeding at all. Having a pro status. The reason to have a pro status was in MLG was to so that they could obviously have the 16 best teams, obviously the Halo and all the other games, and then they'd obviously feed in from the amateur bracket would feed in and play them. And as you said, it did cause a problem where someone placed well at the first event and then suddenly you know what I mean, the entire season have stayed there. I just think it's pointless. For a start, you'd have to do it off each individual player because the amount of times that people move around and stuff, it's just absolute waste of time. Like you just have teams constantly you'd have players constantly moving, and then the rankings are just constantly change. And it's like, how do you define what's a good tournament and what's a bad tournament? And like with Call of Duty, it's not like Halo where it's so consistent. Like a team can be awesome online and come out of nowhere and place highly at a COD event. It does happen, and it's just in order to have that pro status, it doesn't help those teams because those players, instead of thinking, oh yeah, my team can do this, we can breach that gap and we can get up there, they just won't bother. They'll just separately join the other teams, and it's like the top teams always stay top, and you never see anyone new coming through. Like in Europe, we don't have a pro status. All we do is for every tournament, it's seeded based off how the teams and players have done on previous tournaments. But it's so loosely based. It's not like I'm a pro player, I'm this and that. It's like what you've done at tournaments. So if a team comes in and hasn't played for 3 tournaments in a row and then goes into the next tournament then they may not have paid for three tournaments, but they used to be amazing on Black Ops and they've been amazing online, and then suddenly they come in and place really highly, but they're not classed as pro just because they've missed a few tournaments already. That's my opinion anyway. I don't think it's needed.
Before we keep going, I just want to like make sure that it's like the pro status and the stuff I'm talking about is completely different than MLG one. It's not in any way, shape, or form the same thing as MLG. What I'm trying to I'm not trying to like make it where people are like fighting for this because they'll get like positive things out of it. Like they'll get pros to when they attend events, they'll be like, oh well, like we get place in pool play and such. That's not what I'm trying to do. I just want to make sure.
I understand that, and obviously I understand that that's not going to happen in future events because without MLG you can't do that in the US anyway.
Oh yeah, obviously. Hey,
but right. I just mean that like in respect of you can't do it. Basically, you can't do it without a tournament like MLG.
I kind of disagree with that idea because back when I was an amateur player and I was first coming on the competitive scene, the idea of being a professional Call of Duty player, a professional gamer, or in the sense, just the title of it is what I really worked for. It was like the holy grail. Like when I first qualified for 2009 Nationals, that was like my first event that I was ever going to. I got to sign that contract from MLG. I know that we're not talking about MLG as a process, talking about it in general, but that contract that I signed, that said right there, I'm a contracted professional Call of Duty player. And that was basically everything that I was working for. That was like the one thing that I always wanted. And I believe having somewhat of a title in the sense kind of gives more of a drive for people to play for. I'm a very competitive person. I enjoy competitive gaming. Anything competitive is what I'm about. And the idea of having something that people are working for to be those top teams, to earn that top status, it just adds to it. Like you have StarCraft with these leagues, like they have Grandmaster, Diamond, stuff like that. That's like an incentive to play. That's an incentive to work towards something. Back in Halo 2, they had like true skill rankings up to level 50. That was kind of like in the sense of not really pro player, but it's the same concept. Everyone's working towards something. So I think the idea of like a cohesive league as to where
you saw it as something that people are gonna like want to like switch teams for or different things like there's obviously like a bunch of rules you can make. Like MLG made rules last year to where it can change around. Like it's definitely, like I said, it's not going to be anything like the MLG Pro status that they have. And like there's a bunch of different things we could change to make it like more like basic and easy to use for anyone.
But then how long do your points last for? It's
What's
like
that?
if how long
that's what I'm saying. Like those are all things we can discuss. Like mainly what we're discussing right now is the basic idea of it. It's not
the concept.
It's the concept. Yeah, it's
not like we're unrolling the rules and the idea of this is what you have to do. This is how long it's going to last. Just the idea of it is what I think is what we should be focusing on.
All right, Brian, as an amateur player in Ryder, what do you feel about the situation?
Well, I think in general, you guys put far too much emphasis on the term pro. And by you guys, I don't mean like just you pros. I mean the community in general. And I think that pro status isn't like something that makes you good or determines who's better than anybody else. Because, I mean, I'm sure you guys have experienced it, and I'm sure that I've experienced it too, that you could play a pro team, and they could be 10 times worse than a good amateur team you've played. I don't know how many amateur teams you guys actually play or how many times you've scrimmed them. But there are some good amateur teams out there, and just because they're not considered pro doesn't mean that they're not good teams, and it makes them harder to find when you're considering like the 14th place team at an MLG event a pro team, when who really knows how good they are, if you guys get what I'm saying.
But this is exactly This is exactly like the point that I'm trying to make is like this is not an MLG pro status. This is not a pro status that will be based off.
No, and I understand what you're saying, but what I'm saying is that when you draw that line from pro to not pro, all you're doing is putting, I don't know how many other teams you wanted to make it, 16, 24, 32. Yeah, you're putting those teams in one group, and you're saying, okay, these are the pro guys, and those other guys, those are the amateur guys, and nobody talked to those guys.
No, that's not.
I'm not saying that that's what happens. I'm just saying that that's how it makes it look.
That is how some people see it. That's your base of view on it. That's your personal experience because you've had some pro players talk down to you as an amateur player.
No, that's not at all. I'm just saying that like you see it on Twitter every night. Team scrum pro teams only, and it's like what makes them pro?
Well,
if you know what I'm saying.
It's not. Yeah, I understand the point of that, but you also have to understand that like I use the term top team because when I say top team is like we're just like any amateur team out there. We want the best practice possible when we want to play. It's like
Yep.
why would we go out of our way to play an AM team that like a team that's not obviously been out there, who's competed in tournaments at the highest level, who's been able to show what they're doing. Like this is the point of pro status. The point of like having a self, like I'm not going to say it has to be named pro status in any way, shape, or form because a lot of people like frown upon that.
Hmm.
Some sort of title that gives you a reason to compete for. Like obviously, like I'm saying, like you're completely right to where it would sort of like separate a certain group of people at to be like at higher tier. But that's just more the reason as a like the tier that's not there to achieve that tier. Like that's something that people should want to fight for. Like that's the reason you want to be like that's the point of recognition for any sort of team. Because this is like not a status that would like something that's easy to keep. Like I think that's the problem with MLG is the fact that it was so easy to keep once you got it, and like obviously like that's not the point of a pro like of a pro player. It's like if you should constantly having to fight for it, and I think that's like one of the reasons why like example like they did for Halo this year, they took completely out pro status and they like based all the seeding off like the FFA, which is sort of random, but like
What up, sexies?
kind of made it more interesting. But in general, it was just I think that's gives it like more the reason for amateurs to fight for something more than like just
I
the
see
money.
what you're saying and how it gives like amateurs something to aspire for and lesser known players like something to aspire for. But in the same breath, it like I said before, it draws that line and kind of separates the community more. When I think what we need to be doing is like just getting everybody more involved with each other instead of like trying to draw lines and separate them. But I see
But
both
see,
sides of it.
to be honest though, like when you say that, that kind of just takes the competitiveness out of it. This is competitive gaming. You know, you're not sitting here trying to be cohesive. Like, I'm pretty satisfied with being where I'm at. Like, in my opinion, competitive
That's what I'm
gaming
doing, homie.
and a pro status drives me to be even better because what you said earlier, like you see as when a pro player like Aches tweets out, pro teams only team scrim. But why would Aches want to scrim a team who doesn't have the reputation, who doesn't have the experience of going to events, doesn't have the experience of playing on the main stage, and play them over playing, say, Apex? Like, uh, pro teams and pro players and top teams, they want to have a reason to play that team. Apex isn't playing uh, LVG because they're a pro team. They're playing LVG because they know they're an experienced team. They know that what they're doing, and it's going to be a competitive scrim. It's going to make both teams better. Rambo taking a guess on a random message from an amateur player and then blowing them out 6-0 on on lockdown CTF. That doesn't help Apex at all. That just you know what I'm trying to say. Like
No. I
instead
totally
of
see what
causing a divide, I really think it just adds more drive. I guess we see it from two different perspectives. Like I can see where you're coming from, where the divide and it just separates the community. But I think that's the point of competitive gaming.
No, and I totally see what you're saying, and how like the pro teams obviously aren't going to waste their time scrimming teams whether they know they're good or not. They want to scrim who they already know is good and who they already know is going to give them the best competition. The point I'm trying to make is that what teams should be striving for isn't a title like pro
Should be-
or this
should be
or that.
achievement.
Like, yo, if you're good, people will know you're good, and if you go to events and place well, you don't need this title of pro status for people to know you're good. People should be competing for like prize money and prizes and
Well, that's the point though. Like the thing about prize money is like example. I'm gonna take perfect examples. The Chicagoland coming up for everyone who actually is watching the stream. I'm pretty sure my team's gonna be there in full, and I'm hoping like a lot of more teams, a lot more pro teams that are, or like past pro teams. I'm gonna say pro teams. There isn't any pro teams right now, but trying to get the biggest competition possible. Like example right now, if you look at the payout sheet, it's only top two, and I'm just saying as if I were an amateur player and I had to like travel a long distance to attend this, and I knew a lot of like top teams who's already proven themselves to compete at the highest level, I obviously have probably a better chance than me. I would want something else to compete for. I wouldn't just want to go there and be like, okay, I placed third. Like you kind of like it kind of gives you something else to like to gain. It's like if you're just saying like I understand your point to where like obviously like, the separation is like probably the biggest point, but I don't feel like it. In my opinion, it really doesn't separate anyone. It just gives people like Nate Shaw was saying like the competition factor is like we're competitive gamers. We're playing to be the best, and that title kind of gives you something more to like play apart from just like the whole money factor. It's really not like as a personal individual, I play this as a living. I game as a living. This is my daily job, and obviously like I'm trying to make something out of it by winning these tournaments. But if I'm someone that's just going to these events to compete and have some fun with my friends, example, I would want something more to compete for than just the money. I don't know about you, but I personally would. That's my opinion on it, obviously.
The thing is, though, is there's like the problem is that you're not counting that you're going to use this as a seeding system at the end of the day. This pro in inverted commas system is going to be used as a seeding system, and that's where it's going to fall down because the whole point of seeding is that it should be done to make the tournament as fair as possible. Now, if for example, Rambo, your team's coming over to EGL, right? Now, if we use the logic as you're not a pro team because you've never played in the European tournament before, then we'd put you at the bottom seed. Now that'd be completely ridiculous for the tournament because at the end of the day you are a top team and you'd end up messing up the seedings of the tournament. And that's the problem with pro status is that it gives people a false sense of like this should be my seeding and sort of stuff. For example, Western Wolves, they didn't attend the first 3 Modern Warfare lands. However, when they went to the 4th event, they came third. They came third because they are a good team. Now, if you'd done this pro status thing, they wouldn't have been at that seeding, but they probably still wouldn't be classed as a pro team. The problem is you can't expect that every team's going to attend a LAN. Now that MLG doesn't exist, you're going to have these sporadic LANs across the place, and it just makes no sense having a pro status when you're not going to have every team attending every event. And for example, in Europe as well, there was another tournament in Sweden, and now no big teams went to that event. Now, does the team that won that event then get pro status when they got knocked out in the second round at the last event we went to? You know, you've got to have having a pro status gives people a false sense of self-worth, and as a result, it messes up seeding.
That's the point I was making though. This wouldn't be just for like one series of tournaments. This wouldn't be just for like the example like the way you guys do it is based off, like if I'm correct, it's based off like opinions of the people that are like in the main. Okay. So mainly, like the way this would work is to be more factual according to like every tournament that there is. That's why I'm saying every like the events would be like based off their size. So like a bigger event, let's say 50 teams or more, you would get more of a recognition for it, getting more points to your whatever like ranking. And this would count for every single event possible: GB tournament, ICN tournament, LAN tournament, everything that exists. Everything that you play in would base that off you. It would help you gain points and such.
But then people are just not going to bother because you're going to have people who are going to say, all right, well, there's pro status. I'm never going to reach that. So what's the point in playing? Because I'm not going to play in GBs every day. I'm not going to go to every single LAN event. Well, people aren't going to do it. That's in Europe. We don't have that system because more and more people are coming to events. Whereas it's not, you know what I mean? In the US, you haven't got a massive tournament at the moment. But when you do, are more and more people going to attend?
Well, I don't see how that changes anything. It just gives people that want to play for it something more to play for. Why? I don't see how.
Because then teams that are good but don't play in every single online tournament. I don't know any European teams that play in online tournaments really. They barely play in any. And the problem is that you've got if you, for example, like I said, if you came over, you would get a low seeding because you've never been in any European tournaments, and that makes no sense for a tournament. If for you to be low seeding when you're probably the best team there.
Well, I mean, it's a really like rare case where something like that would happen. But I'm just saying,
but
go ahead,
to an extent, sorry to cut you off.
Yeah.
You brought up the idea of Western Wolves not showing up to 3 events and then they place third at the one they go to and the seedings were messed up. But I think the idea of like a reward system or the points, it kind of adds to it's like a rewarding system. Like it rewards that team and those players for being active throughout the events. They were going across the country, they were playing in these tournaments, and they earned these points. It's just, you know what I'm saying? It's a reward.
Yeah, but they
system.
didn't attend. They didn't attend because they didn't want to. They didn't attend because they couldn't, because they've got commitments in the rest of their life. If it was actually pro and people actually getting salary to pay, then fine. But that's not the case. People have got other lives outside of gaming. You've got to remember that. You can't. A few of you in a very lucky position where you can play full time and you can put all this time and effort to. There's a lot of players that can't do that and actually have a lot of commitments outside of gaming, and you're penalising those people because they've missed those tournaments. That's the problem.
Well, I mean, that's also the point where I was trying to make, where like you would get certain, like there would be a lot more points to play for when it'd be a big tournament, to where like these people that have commitments would obviously attend those bigger events because those are the ones that where like the big money or whatever and all the attention is at. And that's also like the point where like that's the point of like the bigger and smaller events. The ranking system would be different.
in a sense, what Rambo's saying, like, say you did want to do a prize point system where the prize money of the tournament or the amount of teams was very much in correlation into the amount of pro points that you receive. Say there's a 18 team LAN in Nebraska and 16 teams show up to it, and prize money first place is like $200. You would receive a very minimal amount of points for that. It would be like a great like a ladder system, like a ranking system. Like the prize money in teams would be in direct correlation to how many pro points you would receive. Like I'm not saying that we have a perfect system for it yet, or even the concept. We're just talking about the idea of it. So I think both of our arguments are kind of looking too deep into the idea. We're just looking at the broad sense of rewarding players for the constant work they're doing throughout the year. Is what is my perception on.
My question to you guys, like, I can understand you're trying to build this concept and like figure out all the little works with it and who gets what amount of points for what. But my question to you guys is, what does it get you in the end? When at the end you're considered a pro team, what does that get you really besides the title
Nothing.
of being a pro?
Nothing.
As far as right now, it doesn't give you anything. No, it gives you something. Like I'm saying, that's what I'm saying. There's no pros to it. There's just really the title to like enjoy, to have something more to compete for. Like the only difference with MLG being a pro is you had like stipends when you attend events, and obviously like that's something that could maybe like be possible if like obviously like if MLG has the next year again. But, like I mean, as of right now, there's no like I don't think we have like one consistent event. Like to have a stipend, you need like a consistent event, like same people running the event along, like, and they have their own system obviously for that to be possible, to give it like somewhat fairly to the people that are going to these events on a regular basis.
Rambo, would you still play though if there was no if you weren't classed as a pro?
That's what I'm saying. It really doesn't affect the people that should play or not. I don't see how it would be like to be like it's only a pro. I don't see how there's someone that'd be like, oh well, look, there's this thing, so I don't want to play anymore. How does that make anyone do not want to play anymore? Like, tell me how does that give someone...
No, I'm not saying that, but you're saying that it's going to incentivize people to play, and I'm saying
I'm saying that's something people fight for. Like, if you look at Halo, like way back, okay, I'm looking at Halo 2. Like, this is where MLG started, okay? An example, back then when pro status was top 16 teams, and I think only top 4 back then got paid, like back when it started. So there was 14 teams that got pro status, and they got absolutely nothing out of it. But that's what all those AMP teams. There's 256 teams traveling. Like, we're not even talking about like half of these tournaments going to be online. They were traveling to all these events, and there was like a lot of events back in Halo 2. There was like 7 or 8 a year, and they were literally going to all these events playing for pro status. And like everyone knew, like, okay, Final Boss was like fucking god back then. They were like pretty much assured like top 2 if anything. And then you had Carbon, like the top like let's say 6 or 8 teams were pretty much assured to be there because it was a double elimination bracket and everyone had a seed to it, and it was pretty obvious there's like the chances of them not winning were really slim to none. So I'm just saying, like, you saying that it wouldn't make people play is, I don't feel like true, because it's a fact that it's been done before and people have raised interest in playing for a certain title.
The way I see it is the idea that you're saying is that the pro status is going to discourage teams from coming and competing and say, oh, since I didn't go to these 3 events, I'm not going to get good seating for this tournament. Why even go? I think it's kind of the exact opposite. I really believe it's the exact opposite, because in 2007, when I was 14 years old and I was playing Gears of War, and the MLG Chicago 2007, I think was like the 3rd event of the year. I had my teammate fly in from Florida. I had somebody coming in from Ohio and somebody coming in from New York, and all 3 of those players stayed at my house. And the fact that all 4 of us got to go to this 2007 event, we had the worst seeding ever. Legitimately, it was a 64-team bracket. We had the 63rd seed, and I'm not lying about this story. We had the 63rd seed. We ended up placing 18th. That's 2 places out of pro status for that event. And that was honestly like the funnest event I've ever been to. We went into it thinking like, hey, what's the worst that could happen? We went to compete. That's what we were there to do. We wanted to be in this tournament. We wanted to be in the atmosphere. We wanted to play for something. And that just made me want to play more. I mean, I placed 18th. I didn't place pro, whatever. Pro status was what I was shooting for. I wanted to place top 16, I didn't care about the money. I just wanted it to be known as like, hey, we are one of the 16 best teams here. That's what I'm playing for.
No,
I
but
just I
you
don't
wouldn't.
see
You
the
wouldn't.
correlation between someone not wanting to come
No, but
because
people are
there's
still
these.
vying for that though. They still want to make top 16. Just it makes them pro or not. It doesn't make a difference. How many people have asked you, oh, Rambo, oh, Nature, can you? When are you going to make it so that I can fight for pro status? I bet no one's asked you. The fact that two pro players are saying I want to make a pro status, what does that say?
No, that's not the point. Okay, you're actually telling me that people go to events and be like, oh, I want to play top 16 or I want to play
Yeah, they
top 12.
do.
Well,
They
it's
do.
fucking crazy to be honest. I mean,
Mate, of course they do. Of course they say they look on
because
Zero. Look on.
look, that's exactly why though. That's because there was a pro status and it was top 16.
No,
That's where it
no
comes from.
one has ever said on Zero, I'm attending this event because I want to get pro status. They say I'm attending this event and I want to get. If you look at the news posts and stuff, it ranges from like top 5 to top 12 to top 24.
Well, that's a
Different
goal,
teams
though.
have different teams have different goals. I'm not
Yeah.
denying that shouldn't happen. I'm just saying if you do a points based system that's based off rankings, you're going to get bad seedings as a result of that, and it just makes no sense to do
Well,
it.
I mean, first off, to start off with, like maybe in EGL you guys do seating differently, but in the states we don't have any sort of like seating rule where there's like a certain base amount of people that would choose the seating because in my opinion it's incredibly biased. And
But not really. I mean, we've
It's
the
biased.
people that
how many
how's it
people
biased,
are
though?
how many people are in the group of people that are actually deciding those things?
Well, it's probably about 5 or 6 people.
Okay, there you go. So there's 5 or 6
But-
people deciding seatings for how many teams?
But they'll base it off logic. They won't base it just off facts.
But that's what I'm saying though. But that's your logic. That's still an opinion.
But these are neutral people that aren't affected in these different
I know.
teams.
That's for sure. I know. I completely agree with that, obviously. But I'm just saying it's still opinions of certain people. There's not like I don't understand why you would base. Obviously, it might make it like somewhat better at the top, but there's always gonna be certain teams that are less known and like you don't know about. And it's like that's exactly the point. Also, like all these AM teams that don't really show up to these events sometimes, and then they show up to one and they do good. Like you don't know about those teams, even if it was factual. Like even if maybe they played in those tournaments and they get like top 30 or whatever, and it would somewhat give them points, and it would kind of give them like there's always pros and cons to like a certain like decision opinionized factor because like you can choose the teams you want to be at the top, but it's not always true. Like I'm saying, like I don't know what seed we're getting when we're going to EGL. Do you guys do you even know what seed we're getting when we're going to EGL?
I do, yeah, but I'm not going to say it.
Okay, but I'm just saying, like I'm pretty sure it's not going to be like the first seed. Like I can tell you that right now. It's like
It's close.
it's okay. It might be like a top seed, but obviously we're not getting the first seed. And it's like to the point where if we went to all these EGL events in the past and it was based off facts, and let's say we did win a lot of them, and then we would get the first seed when we go to your event. And that's
Yeah, I mean, if you come over and walk it, then obviously the next event you'd get first seed. There's no
but
doubt
yeah,
about it.
I'm just,
But-
that's what I'm trying to say though. It's like I
But
don't
in
see,
your rules, that you wouldn't get a seeding at all if you did this pro status. You
Well,
wouldn't
that-
get a seeding at all.
well that's
You
based
get
off
a low
facts.
seed,
It
and
would-
then you'd end up knocking out teams that don't deserve to be knocked out that early.
But I understand. But how is it even then? How is it fair for these top teams to be seated below us? They've been to these events before. They've
Because
actually,
you're a better team. Because the whole point of seedings is to
Seeding
make
but
the
it's your
tournament as
opinion.
fair as possible.
What
Who
tells you
says
we're
that they're a better
team?
team? Who's
What
basing?
tells you we're a better team?
No, you are a better team. We know you are.
How?
You can't just make that assumption. That's just taking away everything that every team that gets placed below Apex NA is basically I just got cock slapped by EGL because Apex NA they just believe that this team is better than me. I would take
No, but
that
you've gotta
as-
look at it
I would take that as
realistically.
offensive to
No,
just
but-
assume that this team has never played in an EGL tournament, has never played overseas, has never played in any of our leagues, and they automatically are seated higher than me.
In the land,
No,
I'm
but-
on for 3 period.
Yeah, but the fact of the matter is, okay, you've got top players, you on that. You've seen the scrims, you've seen these setups, etc. We know you're a good team. Now, my problem is that the whole point of seeding is to make the whole tournament fair. That's the whole point of seeding. Now, if we had a massive circuit and we had like MLG did, then it would make sense to have a pro status and base it off facts because so many teams are attending that you can't work it out. But the fact of the matter is, there's not enough teams in the US or the UK or the European community in order to base this pro ranking system off. This isn't StarCraft. You know what I mean? This isn't. We haven't got millions of thousands and thousands and thousands of players playing it at LAN events. You just don't have that many numbers. It's too premature. It's too premature to bring in a pro status now. That is my point. I'm not saying in the future it's not a good idea. Fine, but at the moment it's so premature that it'll ruin the scene.
I don't see how it's going to ruin the scene, to be honest. Like, that's how in my opinion, that's how Halo built their scene. That's exactly how they got from
Halo had
0 to
so
hero.
Halo had so many teams at the start for Halo 2 and stuff like that.
They barely
did
had
it-
any for Halo 1, and they still had pro status. They didn't have that many people at the first glance, and they still had pro status. That's what people fought for. That's what people showed up to events for. They enjoyed playing the game, and they had something to fight for other than just the money. I just don't see like.
People should show up for the placements. They shouldn't show up. I'm not saying
But
it's bad,
I'm not saying they should. I'm just saying it does give them something to like to fight for, though.
but you're fighting for your position in the tournament. That's what you're there for.
Well, yeah, but I
And
mean, if you get some sort of like title for like placing, it's like anything. Look at game battles; they all have like these crappy accolades that certain people like. I've never actually like got into it and like actually looked
Can
at
you
them
stop
more
making
closely.
fun of the fact that I won a gold trophy?
But no,
yesterday?
I'm just saying
playing,
like
I'm playing.
anything in general. Like I remember that. I remember that back when I first started playing GB. I wanted a freaking trophy on my profile for winning a tournament. I didn't play for the fight. There was no money to win. I just wanted a freaking trophy on my profile. And it's any sort of. It's just. There's always this little factor in life that anything you do in life, you want something for it. That's what I'm trying to say. I think that's the base of logic. Is like if you play something, if you do something in life, and you have a chance to get something for it, for doing good in the whatever you're doing, you should get something out of it. And
Yeah, of course.
and the simple process and the simple thought of being like, okay, I got 16, I'm top 16 is I just don't feel like that's very rewarding to someone's mind. I mean, sure, some people might be, but I don't know.
And I actually didn't know that Apex NA was getting a high seed for EGL. I thought they were going into it at the bottom of the bracket, like, here you go. I honestly didn't know that, and the more I think about it, that will make it a more fair tournament for the rest of the teams. But to be honest, if I was an EGL team and I was going to this event and I saw Apex NA 6 seeds higher than me, and I've never seen that at one of these events, I'd be fucking furious, dude.
Trust me, there's not one team going to complain that there's going to be a high.
See, I don't get that though, because I guess I'm just more competitive than others, or I have a different outlook on things like that.
For example, if you give you a low seeding though, just like if we give you a low seed and you go into the tournament, you effectively play a high team straight away. Now, if you're likely to beat that high team, say you beat that high team, then that high team who's probably had sponsors and this and that, who've worked hard to get there, they're going to get knocked into the lose bracket and then have to ridiculous run to potentially get a good placement, all because we didn't see the tournament properly.
That is true to a certain extent, but I still don't feel like.
But you, although it's great for your own benefit, you went in from the bottom, you did it from, etc., etc. It's not fair on the teams that have also worked hard to get those placements and get those rank that seeding opinion of them that they have. It's not fair on them.
It's not opinion though.
You kind of just faltered your own point there, because
No,
you literally just said. You just took away the credit that, all right, so say Apex NA gets the third seeding, top 3 seeding. Any team below that, you literally just took away everything that they worked for and put them a seed lower. Yeah, how? You just took away that. You just took away that second and third seeding that they would have gotten if Apex NA wasn't there. You literally just took everything that they worked for to build a reputation as a team, to build going to these events and building seeding points and things like that. You literally just took it all away from them by placing Apex NA 2 seats higher than them.
You're getting knocked down one space, which in seeding is not a big deal.
That one space may not seem like a whole lot to you, but if that happened to me, I'd be salty, man. I'd be furious.
If I could cut you off for a second, you've got to look at it at the other side, where if you put Apex NA where they should be based on like points because they haven't attended an EGL before, say they get the 16th seed and now they've got to play the 1 seed, and the 1 seed fought so that they could get there and be the 1 seed and have an easy road to the final, and now they've got to play a very good pro team in the first round. That doesn't really make it fair.
Okay, here let's take wait 1 sec. Let's take Halo for consideration. Okay, the way Halo has worked in the past is the fact that seeding was based off all your events placing except for the first event of the year, which was like Call of Duty last year. Okay, look at Call of Duty last year. Like we can even take Black Ops. Dallas last year seeding was based off the online qualifier. You played the online qualifier. Everyone who planned on attending the event and playing at a high level played the online qualifier. There was like 80 something teams, and I think pretty much all of them showed up to the event. So your seed was based off a prelim tournament that was played for that. Why doesn't EGL do that?
Well, why doesn't EGL? Because you can't base it because the tournaments aren't frequent enough. As I said, it's too premature to do it at the moment because there's not enough to base it off. It's too loose.
Why? Like it was a ladder, so mainly like you're playing You're playing a ladder system, and then you play the playoff bracket to determine your seed. I don't see how that's wrong in any way. It's pretty much the same thing you're going to be doing at the event, anyways. No, except for the
Well,
fact that it's online, obviously. But I mean, it's not
yeah,
not that
you
much
can't do it
different.
online.
It's not that.
Yeah, but
much
the difference
different.
is everybody can compete online, where in terms of not everybody's going to show up to every LAN. Like even you guys who are a top pro team sponsored and everything aren't going to be able to show up to LANs across California,
But
Nebraska,
that's not what I'm saying.
New
I'm saying
York, Florida.
that online tournament it was completely directly related to the MLG event. I'm not saying you don't play that tournament if you're not going to the event. It's as simple as that. You can make it so like EGL can make a tournament so you buy your pass, you get a pass to that ladder. Simple as that. How is that wrong
Because
in any
then
way?
online's not the same as LAN, though. Is
But
it?
it's not that much different, dude. I played a game. I tell you, it's not that much different.
What about people who host boot? What about people who?
Okay, yeah, for sure. Okay,
who-
that's one thing
well,
that yeah, for sure, that's understandable. Hose booting, okay, like obviously some fucking
Connection-
people are weirdos. as
Connection
fuck
does
like
make a big difference.
that.
Like
It doesn't. It does make somewhat of a difference, but it really doesn't affect the game that much. This game is Call of Duty has never been a game about like strictly about just gunfights and shooting people. It's more positioning and stuff, and you get more rewarded for position than
Yeah,
having a good
absolutely.
shot, in my opinion.
perhaps at the very top. But the example, you've got people online in Europe and they're so good online, and they get to events and they just crumble because they can't handle the pressure, they can't handle the
Well,
shit.
that's a different atmosphere,
They can't
obviously.
handle. Yeah, but you shouldn't base something seeded off an online tournament.
Well, you're strictly telling me. You just told me 2 minutes ago that you're going to give us a high seed based off what you've seen from us.
no, we're gonna
But all
based
you've
off
seen-
your experience and the fact that we know you're a top team.
But that's what I'm
If-
saying.
if-
But all you've seen from us on Modern Warfare 3
If
is online
Brian's
play.
team, Brian's team came over, we probably wouldn't give him a seed in.
If what?
But the difference is between a top team, a very top team, and a team that's just good because of gun skill is a big difference. Obviously, we know you've got setups, etc., etc. You can't really. No one's going to sit and judge that in every single online tournament game, are they?
No, but I'm just saying you're still basing something off the opinion of what you've seen from us from an online tournament, and you pretty much just told me that online doesn't really mean stuff compared to LAN. It's much different, and I can tell you from fact that when we went to that Gunner LAN and Scumpy and everyone like in general, we weren't like LAN was complete. It was different for us. It was a new thing, and like you pretty much just told me that everything you've seen us online setups and stuff. Obviously, it's going to be like somewhat the same at the LAN event. But I'm just saying you're still trying to base something off non-facts, which is wrong in my opinion.
It's to make it a fair tournament. There's a better if we put you in a high seeding, that's going to have a less impact on the tournament if we put you in no seeding. So if we put you in no seeding and you get knocked out straight away, for example, then fine, because obviously you didn't deserve that seed, but it doesn't make a difference. But whereas if you go in as a low seeding and then you are amazing, that's going to have a much more detrimental effect on the tournament than it would if you went in at the top.
Right, I somewhat agree with that, but I still don't feel like it's a fair.
Yeah, no,
fair,
I
you know.
agree with you with that point, and I agree with the fact that it really puts a curveball into the tournament. But in my
The curveball
opinion,
that
to
could
the other teams, it's just not fair. So you're basically telling me since if me, Big Timer, Vengeance, and Merc went over to an EGL event, which they are already doing, since we won COD XP, dude, I better be getting that #1 seed, man.
Well,
That's
you wouldn't
like,
necessarily get #1 seed, but you definitely get a higher seed than you normally. You wouldn't come in with nothing, definitely not.
but the biggest LAN event of MW3.
No, he's
You
not.
win.
He didn't
Yeah,
say.
that's
He
not
didn't say it was
based-
based. He didn't. No, you're missing the point.
Okay,
Nate.
nah, I
He
just
said it was based off
misinterpreted
like
that.
everything that they've seen, not only like
Reputation.
Yeah.
I really disagree with that kind of process, but I can understand where you're coming from with the fact that it put a huge screwdriver into the tournament.
Yeah.
But I definitely think I'm just saying if I was the 4th ranked team or a 4th seeded team at one EGL, and I came in and I was the 5th because Apex NA comes in and just gets this 4th seed, I would feel so disrespected. You would have no idea.
They won't though. They're not like that. They didn't
yeah,
understand that was for the better of the tournament.
Obviously, it's like something we're not used to in North America, and it's something that you guys.
We have a high level of sportsmanship and a high level of
Oh yeah, yeah.
about community. We're not all, you know what I mean? Like with the server,
No, it's
especially.
pretty much. I'm not saying it's not like that down here. It's just that we're more like based off factual, like
Yeah.
like it's more points and like everything you play for matters. Like it's not. Yeah, obviously, it can make it somewhat more random to a certain extent, and I completely agree with the fact that it can actually make a more balanced tournament. But like if I've looked at all these like past lands that you guys had, like all these teams that have been showing up, like especially the Reflex tournament, it's like it's never the team that everyone expects to win is never the team that actually wins that event. So,
No, well, sometimes, but
well,
it's,
rarely.
It's not,
I'm just saying.
It's not always, but it's like, you know, we don't want to. it's sort of like respect where respect is due. Like I'm not choosing the seedings because I don't know enough about the teams who are playing. So I've got, you know what I mean. I have no idea. Like I obviously have an idea, but like I've not got enough technical knowledge to know whether you're much better than this other team. But there is people that know, and there's although it is opinion, it's still, you know what I mean, for the greater good sort of thing. That's what they're trying to do.
Right.
So it's just, and back to obviously the main topic of pro seeding is that it's just having a pro status is just too premature at the moment. Like in the future, I agree, it works. It works in Halo, it works in StarCraft, and that definitely should be something included. But at the moment where it's such a level playing field, it just shouldn't be implemented because not having a pro status won't have an effect, but having a pro status may have a detrimental effect.
How does not having an effect? I don't understand how it doesn't have an effect.
Because if you don't have a pro status, people aren't going to ask you for one. They're not going to like. No one's going to say, you know what I mean. By not having a pro status,
I don't see how it can have a detrimental effect though. Like, what does it mean to you put yourself in an amateur player's shoes? There's a pro status. There's like a certain line where it tells you like you have the pro status of this site. Like obviously this would be based off a site like whoever obviously could be like just saying okay this is what we consider pro status. I don't see how that would affect anyone in a wrong way. Tell me how that would affect you as a player in any way, shape, or form in a negative matter.
Because as I said, like for the teams that would get affected by it, that they potentially may not want to do it because of that.
Why?
Because they may not want to. You know what I mean? They think, well, top 16, I'm not going to make pro. But we are a good enough team to beat these top teams. But because we're not going to be classed as that, then we're never going to get there because of our seeding.
No, but but how we just said that pro status wouldn't mean anything towards seeding. Like it wouldn't change anything. Like if you played a tournament, you would be seeded the same. Like okay, you're 32nd seed going into this tournament. How does pro status affect you in any way, shape, or form? It doesn't give that 16 team any sort of advantage. It just there's no difference. I don't understand like the way you're saying is like it's either based off opinion or it's gonna be flawed no matter what. I'm telling you right now that it's very rare that the chances of us doing tournaments based off seeding based off opinions is like really slim to none because there's not enough teams out there that are like showcase in general like all these amp teams like we were just saying like Brian was saying earlier that like these lower tier teams that are these good amp teams that are possibly better than that 16 seeded team. Example for last year, it happened a lot. There was a lot of like teams that formed and amateur teams that had to go through AM bracket that made it out a lot. Then they were better, but they didn't get the seed because they kept switching teams and such or whatever. But I'm just saying, like in general, how does that affect that team to not want to play and not gain that pro status? I don't see why. I don't see in any way, shape, or form how that would affect me. If I'm a player and I'm 20th seed going to a tournament, I want to be a pro player. I have a chance. I'm really close to that seed. I want to go for it. I don't see how that would affect me in playing in any way, shape, or form.
Well, I mean, Brian, you're the one that's the.
Well,
player,
what I'm just saying is that it's really not truly indicative of who's doing what.
But that's not the point. I'm just sorry to cut you off. That's not the point. It's not to indicate who's good or not. It's just to indicate who's a pro or not. It has nothing to do with being.
Yeah, but I mean, it goes hand in hand. People obviously associate the term pro with being a good team. You can't just say it's something and say it doesn't mean anything.
Okay, yeah, you're right. Yeah. Okay, let's say being pro is being good, but it doesn't mean like. If you're a good team, shouldn't you be pro though? I don't see the point.
Because the way you guys want to do it with giving points to like certain teams for how they place at certain events doesn't work because of just like what Michael was saying. Not every team can attend every event. People have other things to do. Not every team is sponsored and has this money to travel everywhere. So say you've got a really good team who's East Coast, then all they can do is attend, lands up and down the East Coast from New York to Florida, and then you've got another team who's not as good but has the money to travel to these lands, California, Texas, Nebraska, Iowa, and they place, decent in all those events, but they're obviously not better than the other team. Why are we calling them pro just because they can attend more events than the other team? It doesn't make any sense.
But then it also comes back to the point that if you play to compete, you play to compete. You want to be to these events. That's like saying last year if you're good. Obviously, there's some good teams out there that maybe don't play as much, but I don't see why would they be showcased in any way, shape, or form to be a good team or top team if they don't even compete at the highest level all the time.
Because with MLG, it was different. Because with MLG, the pro status came along with a stipend. So if you were pro, you weren't just pro, but you were guaranteed to attend the next event. Am I correct?
No, not at all. It was
So if you placed top
slim.
16, you didn't get stipends.
Yeah, you did. If
Okay,
you
so
not if you're
doesn't that
seeded,
obviously help you
yeah,
attend the
it
next
helps
event?
you, but it wasn't nearly enough to make like fully
No,
sponsor
but
you,
it
for example.
helps you attend the next
No,
event.
for
But
sure, yeah, it does.
in your new system, being pro doesn't get you anything except the title. So
Yeah.
being pro doesn't really help me in any way except, hey, those guys are pro, and I don't really feel like that accomplishes anything.
Well, that's your pace of it. I can tell you for a fact that I get like tweets that from the start that I started tweeting today. There's like so many amateurs. It gives a reason to play. Like that's the point. That's the base of the point. Like I'm just like I told you earlier. Like a lot of those lower am teams play to get pro status because they wanted to be pros. They wanted to be considered pros. Like so many of the am teams say they're top am teams. Like, why would they say that? Because they want recognition of being a top amateur team. They want people to know that they're the best AM teams out there because right now there's no pro status to fight for. So that best AM team could be like, let's say if there was an event, they could be placing like 8 plays, but like that would be considered pro status if there was a like sort of a ranking, and they wouldn't be considering themselves a top AM team, and they would get the recognition from the other pro teams and like would get all these scrims that people are asking for. I'm just saying, like in general, it just widens that varied like that certain like amount of people that are like more like get acknowledged for. I'm just saying, like it's something to get acknowledged for. That's probably like the basis.
I can see your point on that. I'm just saying, like, without a stipend or something that comes along with this pro status, I don't feel like it's accomplishing anything except like setting people, like dividing people into
But
different
but the
groups.
stipend thing was all based off one event. Like this pro thing status or whatever. Don't even have to call it pro status. It could be any sort of name we want. But it's just like it's a certain ranking system that would allow people something to see for when they attend these events. Like it's the same thing for EGL. Like if you think about it, like all their seating is based off opinions, but all these opinions are based off like sort of like what they see. Like they see you compete in this, okay, you're doing good in this, so like it's like every scrim is almost a tournament. It's almost to what extent that is. Like they base themselves off that, and like why wouldn't we, since we don't really have that ability to have like a certain unbiased group of people, because we all know that it's fucking impossible to have unbiased people down like up in North America. It's why don't we have that system that allows us to have every tournament that people play for, it allows them to gain a certain amount of points to play for. Like I know for a fact, like everyone played GB in their life, right? Everyone who competes has played GB at least one season and try to like make it to the top. Why
Oh
did you play
yeah.
GB? Like what was the reason of playing GB, Brian? Have you ever, like I'm gonna ask you, have you ever actually tried to play GB? Or like
Yeah, no, I play GB all the time, and to me personally, and I know other people feel differently. GB for me is mostly practice. Sure, there's the aspiration of wanting to get to like you said, the top of the ladder and to whatever it is, be top page. But as far as like getting you something, no, it doesn't really get you anything. And I can see your point that people still compete despite the fact that you don't earn anything for it. And I see your point on how that gives you something to aspire for. But at the same time, what I'm saying is it creates a divide that isn't a necessary divide if you're not getting anything out of it. If you can see where I'm at.
Well, I mean, yeah, you're not getting anything out of it, but it's the fact that you're competing for something. Like even in GB, you're competing, you're competing for like that XP or whatever. You're not getting out of it. How does that, like the top teams that make the playoffs? You're telling me that divides and that like somewhat like that makes the teams that don't make the playoffs, that makes them want to less play GB in the next season? Is that what you're telling me?
No, I'm not saying it makes them want to less play GB, but GB and the tournaments you guys are setting up are obviously two completely different
How?
things.
How?
Because GB's online is way more
I just
accessible than LAN events
but
around the country.
I just told you that the rankings would be based off online play as well.
If you're going to
That's what I
base
first
the
said.
rankings, yeah, but if you're going to base the rankings for pro players, like quote unquote pro players, on events that not everyone can get to, because they're not MLG events.
Well, they
so
wouldn't be
not
bigger. They
everyone's
wouldn't
gonna
be they wouldn't be as big as the events online. So the online events would probably give you a lot more points because you're obviously like let's say the Frag Cup has like what, like 2,000 teams.
Yep.
It's like ridiculous. Who's smashing your keyboard? Jesus Christ!
Sorry, my bad.
Fucking going off on it. But like I'm just saying, like that wouldn't be the basis. Like the basis of is the attendee. That's really like the point of giving like the more points to the people that are like, obviously there would be like also the factor, like if we were to do this like when MLG was around, like to take in considering that MLG has like the biggest output of a tournament, that tournament would probably give the most points possible because that's where everyone goes to compete at. Like that thing that's what we're missing. Also, that's another point I wanted to touch is like the fact that this Chicagoland they're giving like 100% out of whatever prize pool or whatever like entry fee, which is like completely unheard of in like local tournaments kind of thing. So if anyone's in the area for the Chicagoland, I strongly I strongly push you to go to that event if you're obviously in driving distance, and if you're in flying distance, you have the funds to do it, then go for it. And like I agree with you, Brian, to the fact that not everyone can attend these tournaments, and like obviously that's like something that's not as fun for some of these people to maybe like compete for. But I just feel like the ratio of the people that are gonna like this idea a lot more probably is probably like a lot bigger than the people that may not like it necessarily. And it's not even like I'm telling you like okay you have to sign up here and here to do that. It's just something that someone's gonna do. It's like Sam's or whoever keeps track of all the top teams and like made like those threads last year. Like it's pretty much the same thing. You would get there would be a LAN and there would like okay like ESFI or someone keeps track of all these tournaments happening, and they would like then someone would rate that tournament on being like a bigger like lesser tournament, and then it just happens. It's not like you're fighting. It's not like I'm someone that just wants to do it. Like I don't have to want to do it. You're just in it already just by being a pro player and a competitor. That's really what it is.
Hell yeah, Rambo! You just won that fucking debate. No,
No.
I'm just playing.
Yeah,
No,
right.
I get your point of view. Rambo.
Even though it's like a
May I-
debate, I
may I
really
speak?
do see your points when you say things, Michael Kent and Brian S. I do agree with you guys. I just think I don't know. I'm just a very competitive person, and I always want to be playing for something. So even though there's prize money at these lands, like it just gives me even more motivation to want to keep playing. I was grown as a competitive player off game battle. So like when I first came into Call of Duty, game battle was like, holy shit, yo, you're top 10 on the ladder. You must be so good, like stuff like that. Like that gave me something to play for. And like when I was playing against like Dominance, like we got matched up in a GB against DM, I was shitting my pants like, oh, this is gonna be like the funnest match ever, the most fun match ever. Wait, funnest, most fun, whatever. What my concept is, if I always enjoy playing for more. Like the prize money is not what it's all about for me. For me, it's just like the competitive atmosphere. I always like just to prove myself and prove to everybody else that I can be the best. That's what it was about for me, and that's kind of what the pro status really means to me. And just the concept and the idea of it is like, hey, you're playing for something more. You're gonna be recognized for the work that you've done and the placings that you've gotten, and that's what it's about for me.
Yeah,
Yeah, no, and I definitely see your guys' point and how it gives you a little something more besides the prize money to aspire for. That makes sense.
like someone on the stream just said, call it elite status, because like I agree with that. Everyone perceives pro status as like, okay, you're better than him or whatever. Like you, like elite would probably like be a better word to it. The fact that it's just like you're an elite player because you like attend all these events and you're like you're the elitist of players. Like it's we don't have to like call it pro status. What I'm trying to get to like the main focus of this, and obviously like I'm not saying it's gonna work because obviously like I'm sure there's a lot more people out there like you guys who kind of perceive it as like a line and a separation of different communities for the same game, which is obviously not the thing we're trying to do. But like the basis of it is to try and get people to have something else to fight for other than the prize money. It's really what it is. It's like you want to go to these events to compete for something else than just the money. And like let's say I'm going to like example like let's just take the Iowa Pro Gaming Challenge. You're a team that went there and got 12th place. What can you tell out of anything that you got 12th place? Like what, Brian? You go to that event, you got 12th place. What does that tell you?
Well, how many teams were there? 32, correct?
32, right? Yeah, I think so.
So not much.
So yeah, you didn't get much, but what if that gave you certain amount of points of seeding for like certain amount of points that go toward this elite rank on this certain site that you don't have to pay or anything to do, and it just like shows you okay, well you're ranked and amongst all the teams that have competed in these tournaments, and it gives you this rank. What like shouldn't that like kind of like give like put yourself in like a little more happy mood because
I wouldn't give you some self satisfaction.
Yeah.
Like, hey,
No,
went
I
there,
can see how
competed.
like it gives you some self-satisfaction, it gives you something else to strive for and compete for. But what I'm saying is at the same time, it's not truly indicative of who's a quote-unquote elite team and who's not,
well,
because
I mean,
not everybody's competing in it.
oh yeah,
You know what I
obviously,
mean?
that's exactly that comes back to the point where I told you like some of these events would obviously be a lot more rewarding than some other events if not everyone's able to compete in it.
Well, then, I mean, just by basic logic, the Frag Cup would be like
Yeah.
1,000 times more points than
Obviously it
like
would.
the Iowa Pro Gaming Challenge.
Oh yeah, there's no doubt. There's absolutely no doubt in my mind. That's the point. The point is to like give if everyone's able to compete in something, then why not give that tournament the most props to getting a placing in? That's exactly the point I'm trying to make.
And
By the fact
even
that
so, not to cut you off,
oh,
Rambo,
God.
but the point system is obviously that's even looking even more far into the idea than what we originally started with the debate. The concept that Rambo, what I perceived was just the concept of playing for more. So even getting farther into it, like the Iowa Pro, comparing the amount of points that you receive between the Iowa Pro Gaming Challenge and the Machinima Frag Cup, that's not even something that we don't even know what would happen with that. You know what I'm saying? Like I came into this debate just talking about the concept of it. The
Yeah, I know the
concept is all
system's
I'm trying
not
to
written in
argue.
stone yet or anything. I'm just
Yeah.
saying, like hypothetically, just looking at it, one tournament has 32 teams, another tournament has like what, an excess of 1,500. Obviously, one's got to have a lot more weight than the other, wouldn't you think?
Yeah. Well, that was the basis when I first tweeted out. I was saying like big, medium, and small event that would give you like points according to like the amount of attendance that the tournament had. Like obviously like there's different points you can make. It's like it's just there's so many different things you can go with it to make it fair and like doable for anyone out there that has the ability to attend all the events or not all the events to make it like somewhat fair for everyone. And I think that's really the basis of it. So
I
yeah.
just think at the moment the USC just needs to concentrate on like building itself post MLG and like worry about this sort of pro stat stuff when that's all sorted. Like you just need to focus on getting events like the Chicago Line. It's amazing that's happening. Obviously, the Iowa Pro Gaming Challenge, despite the weird 2 pro rule, which made no sense.
I mean there were still like 32 teams that showed up to that though. So it was still like
Yeah, no, of course, yeah, no, exactly. So it's awesome that like despite that rule, it was still awesome that so many people turned up, and like you just need to work on doing all that, and then once that's all sorted, then work out your pro status and all that.
Yeah.
Work on that after.
Yeah, I can somewhat agree
Just
that
start
maybe
small
just
steps.
yeah, maybe to like just start now. Maybe like obviously that's something you can also work on. Like you don't have to like just give it after like one tournament. You can just like you can build it like let's say for like you can do it like on a monthly basis or a yearly basis if you really want to. There's so many different things you can do with it. I just think like it's something that you can like it's like I said that like so many times. It's like something you can play for. That's really what it is. But yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, like is there any other points that you guys want to debate for today? Is there anything else that we can talk about that you guys want to talk about, Nate? I know you like talking.
I guess not.
I guess not.
Other than that, Rambo, how do you think you're gonna do these, Joe?
How do I think I'm gonna do these, Joe? I don't know. I guess like I said, it's gonna be. I don't know how effective we're gonna be by jet lag. First of all, because I've never actually traveled across seas. But I'm pretty sure our flight's like really late on Friday, and we came in Friday morning in Blackpool. So
I'm gonna you get into Manchester. I'll meet you guys at the airport. So it'll be sweet.
One thing I wanted to ask you personally, Rambo, about that I don't know if you guys know about or if you guys are practicing accordingly, but here in North America, in Search and Destroy, when we die, we're used to third personing, and I've heard that in the EU and
you gotta put your controller
EGLs,
down.
their controllers down.
Yep. Yeah, I heard about it. And
You guys think that's a big deal or not?
You just don't third person.
That's actually a really good point we should debate on because I love that.
Well,
I was talking to Toby.
I'm not necessarily like a top player, so I can't really, in that respect, argue that point. But from what people say, basically, third person in is kind of cheating because you can see around corners.
Yeah,
it's not your own personal play. It's in a way, I agree that it's partly like some people agree and some people don't. I agree in some way it brings another team element, but at the same time, it's not something that we do in Europe. Like,
all right, let's talk about it. Third person, no third person. Revan, you haven't talked yet. Let's go.
Oh, hey guys.
Oh, Revan's here.
You could have been talking the entire time. I don't know why you didn't jump in.
I've been trying to talk, but you guys
just jump in. Now it's a debate, bro. You gotta come in. You gotta come in and like talk. You gotta make your voice.
Third person, I do think it's kind of cheap because you can see around corners. Even if you go to a certain spot across the map where you might not even be able to hear someone if they decide to defuse the bomb, you could still know that they're defusing just by third person. So like Michael said, it's not your own personal skill. It's just someone else, it's someone else's skill that I personally, I don't like it. does that mean I won't use it? Of course, I'll use it if we're allowed to, but I still think it's cheap. I don't think it should be allowed.
Okay. What about you, Nate Shot? Third person, don't know third person, and you weren't there. I don't think you. I heard you pick up your mic. In Europe, in European events, you have to put your controller down as soon as as soon as you die in search and destroy. So you're not allowed to
You have
third
to take
person your
headset off as
teammate.
well.
No, I heard the headset rule wasn't. I heard your.
Certain events,
Okay,
like
yeah. Alright.
at the Dutch events, you have to
Well,
take
let's
it.
just keep it. Let's just keep it this simple. Like, put your
Yeah.
controller down, so you can't third person. What is your opinion on that? Okay, you're not there, Brian.
Well, drawing on what Revan was saying, how it's not personal skill, I feel like a lot of what goes on in Call of Duty isn't personal skill. It's more teamwork and communication. I think that's just what third personing is. It's just another aspect of teamwork and communication, whether it's calling somebody out after you die in CTF or it's calling people out around corners, 3Ping and search and destroy. I feel like it's kind of the same, so I enjoy it. I think they should keep it.
There's certain spots on the map where they're just so far away from the bomb site that even if the person who's trying to defuse the bomb, if they even want to try to kill that guy, there's not going to be enough time for them to get the defuse off because they have to go so far across the map to kill them.
Name one.
But if they name one, probably C Town. I guess if you go on Top Cafe and you plant the bomb on B, you could jump up. Like that's so far away from the bomb site, and you're just gonna get third. They could probably third the bomb site.
What's cafe?
The cafe is the back red
street.
building.
Yeah.
No, you can't.
Behind green.
You can't. If someone lays down behind bomb, you won't be able to do anything, and you're not gonna get. That's like kind of like retarded. That's like saying like on any map possible and every single spot, you're not gonna get all the way there after you plant the bomb. It's just.
Well, when you have your teammate plant the
not
bomb,
smart.
you have your other teammate just sit up there.
Okay, well, yeah. If you have a teammate in there, but that's still stupid. If your teammate dies in your bomb, you can just get defused by the time you get there. And even then, that's like saying the other team can't third person either. It's like I'm just saying like obviously like the only problem I have personally with third personing is the fact that it kind of gives you a reason to die. Kind of gives you this added like I almost feel like more comfortable when someone on my team dies and can third me. It's like. It's easier to maneuver around the map without putting yourself at risk if you take it smartly and slowly. Also, it's like I mean, technically you shouldn't be able to. Like Brian, you compared it to like team communication and the fact that Call of Duty is more like team related and stuff, but it really isn't. Call of Duty is all an individual based game off your own individual skill that you play, and every maneuver you make as a player helps your team out. And third personing is not something that is really in that category. It's kind of like a whole different thing because you're spectating your teammate. It's like that's like having a camera over your. It's really having a camera over your teammate's head and being able.
Yeah,
to
but
see.
it goes both ways, so I don't see what the problem is.
But
like it's not like one team has it and the other team.
But that's what I'm
doesn't.
saying though. It's like if one team has players alive and the other, let's say you go 2 down, it kind of like helps the other team get back to come back and tie up that advantage.
Yeah, but I'm sure it'll
previous
happen the
kills.
same way later in the match. And I'm sure
But no,
the other
that's what I'm
team.
saying. It's random. It's not something you can control. You don't control when you die. Like you won't.
Well, I mean, to a certain extent, you do.
I just sorry, Brian, I've got to go.
Okay.
But thanks for chatting, guys.
Right,
yeah,
good one.
thanks.
Later.
All right. How do you control when you die?
Well, I mean, to a certain extent, you control when you die. I'm sure you've said it numerous times to your teams playing Search and Destroy. You get a 2 or 3 man advantage in S&D, and you're like, all right, just nobody die. Just hang out on the back of the map. We'll let him plant. We'll figure it out after he plants. It's not.
Well, yeah, but that's what I'm saying.
I mean, obviously, sometimes you die, and it's not your fault, and obviously,
No,
you can't control it all the time, but it's something you can control to an extent.
That's what I'm saying. You don't control when you die. You don't control when you get that ability. It's not an ability that you'll get when you're alive. You have to die to have that ability. Why would someone be rewarded for dying?
You're still not rewarded. Obviously, you're much more useful as an in-game player who's alive, being a fourth person, than putting your team in a 3-on-4 and all you can do is 3P. I don't know how powerful you guys think third personing is.
Yeah, it's
really powerful.
I disagree, but I mean those are just...
obviously do not use it like we do. Believe me, it's absolutely incredibly powerful. There's no doubt.
I even third person capture the flag.
It's really It's like you can move slowly around the map and not be surprised by anything. That's how powerful it is.
Hypothetically, do you think you'd be better off playing 4-on-4 straight up search with nobody third personing, or you playing a man down every round and say Revan's on your team and Revan can third person for you the whole time, but he can't play or shoot his gun or anything?
Well, that's debatable. It depends what map. It depends what situation you're in. If you're on offense, on defense, it's better to have people alive because on offense, I could honestly feel like if obviously it's like sort of like stupid since you don't really like want to give up deaths, but it's not. It's like you're not at a disadvantage for having the first death on offense. You can still win a round perfectly. Like go look at all our streams. Go look at all my streams in general. And as soon as you see someone on my team die, like on C-Town, C-Town's like a perfect map for that. On C-Town, when we go three on four on offense, we usually win a round. It's so hard to like. It gives an incentive to offense a lot. In my opinion, it makes offense a lot easier because
No doubt it helps offense when you can third
yeah,
person. I'm just saying it's not nearly as powerful as having an actual fourth player, and I don't think that's
I don't
really
know. It
debatable.
depends. It depends who's controlling the third person, and it depends who you're playing with. Like it's like let's say I'm thirding Scumpy, who fucking pretty much wins every gunfight he gets in. If I can turn around the walls for him, and I can see around the wall where the opponents are at, he's gonna jump out and fucking kill him at the first shot on him. When that really shouldn't be the case, because he shouldn't be able to know what's around that wall. He shouldn't. There's no way in his view that he should be able to know. And how does that? I don't see how that makes it fair. Like I agree. I love third person. I don't want to play without it. To be honest, that's like
Yeah, I know. I like third person
like
as well.
it's awesome. Like in my opinion, it's like it's something that gives like it kind of like makes the game more interesting because there's less randomness that happen. Like if there's one thing that I've learned about European teams and S&D is like they fucking run around like fucking no like they like place they really like just run around sometimes and it's really like the logic that they have in some of the plays they make sometimes is just like so like weird. Like we played Merc was in a 1v1 against some dude and we were like practicing that no spectating rule. And the guy Merc saw him go from on C Town. He saw him go to A with, and he had the bomb. And he went to A, ran all the way around the library, and came back to A. Like who does that? Like it's just like you have the bomb. You're not even playing the objective when there's like 30 seconds left of the round. It's like there's different things that's just ridiculous. And like obviously third person can help that because like it'll like in the back of your mind you know that player is going to see a lot more than he should be because people can see around him. But I still like if you think about like the base logic, it's something that shouldn't be there. Like if you look at like example, like Counter Strike was a like probably the best game for search and destroy. There every time a player died, their screen went black. Like they
Yep.
literally it went black. So like they couldn't see shit. Which when you think about it, like it relies more on the players that are alive. It gives that advantage to their team. Like it like killing someone kind of like for sure you get an advantage on killing someone. You get that player up. But it's still, in my opinion, like third person is really useful. So it's like you're not getting the full advantage that you should be getting by getting that kill. That's how I feel.
I
About it.
just feel like it's another little nuance to the game that you've got to not be good at, but you've got to like take
Oh yeah, you
into
got to
account
use.
when you're
Yeah,
playing, and it makes the game more interesting.
yeah, for sure. But like you also have to take into account that people who are watching, let's say, people who are watching the stream don't really see that and don't really take into account that someone is watching that. So I like that. That's also another point that comes back to the viewer experience, to where people are seeing things like they're like, oh, how the fuck do you know he's there? Well, I got news for you. His teammate
Well,
was
I
starting
think
that.
I think if anybody's casting it, it's really easy to explain. Like I think a great point of third personing was Black Ops firing range, but the bomb back trailer, I'm not sure which one it was. I'm pretty sure it was A back trailer. And you can plant on like the offense side, there's that little wood plank that sticks out of the trailer, and you kind of just kneel behind that and watch your back towards the bathrooms and just have somebody third person over you. And
Yeah,
I mean that happened a lot at MLG events. And when people are casting it, like Corey Dunn or Holiday Doc or whoever, it's really
Or
easy to
Revan.
explain what's going on. Or Revan.
but it's still something
Oh
that you shouldn't be
lord.
able to use though when you think about it. It's like
Have you guys ever played with Nex and S&D?
Yeah, it's all Nex
Yo,
does is third
Nex
person.
has as soon as Nex dies, yo, third me. Yo,
Yep.
he has the best third spots I've ever seen. The most
To the
random fucking
three-piece
corners.
spot is what
I've
he
never
does.
seen these spots before. And I played an S&D tourney with him on Sunday. He was like, "Go here." I was like, "What the fuck? That smells.
Don't
Why
worry,
would
I
I
got
go
your
there?"
whole
He's like,
map.
"Don't worry, I got
Watch
your third. I can see everything behind you. All you gotta do is look forward." I
Yeah.
think third person should be completely out of the game. That's just my opinion. I think S&D should be completely raw skill, raw awareness, and luck goes into it too. But I think that's what brings the excitement out of S&D. I think I really think that that's just a force and I'm stuttering because I have so many thoughts in my head that I want to get out, but I don't know how to iterate them. What I'm saying is I think S&D should be pure awareness, luck, and I just third personing just is an aspect of the game which gives that player help. I think in S&D it should really come down to like a 1v1 situation. You shouldn't be able to sit in this corner in the middle of the map and watch one way while your teammates watch the other. That's just a completely non-skillful aspect to the game. I think it should be completely gone. And you shouldn't be able to do it.
It also takes like a lot of pressure off that player that's trying to clutch.
I agree.
Because I love that pressure. Like when it's on, you're in a 1v1 situation, 3-3 tie. You don't want to win because your teammate sees something that you don't, like because he's third personing over a corner or something. I think like Nate said, it should all be up to that one player, pure awareness that he has to make that shot, not someone else.
Yeah,
like in that 3v3 tournament we were playing, it was underground 1v3, and I was like, yo, everyone just be quiet, I got this if I don't clutch or whatever. But I was literally proning around the map and just having Crump third me. I found 2 players off of me literally just proning up to a corner, waiting for Crump to third it, then going. And I ended up losing the 1v1 because the dude was sitting in the random third spot like I was doing. But it literally made it so that it wasn't me 1v1ing him. It was my teammates versus his teammates, and just pure luck and timing.
Yeah,
because of the third.
Well,
and
no,
I
don't think you could say pure luck. I think the third kind of eliminates the luck. It makes it less random.
Wait, no, but what I'm saying,
there's still a randomness in it though.
It's lucky for that player that I walked where I did for him.
Okay, I see what you're saying in that aspect.
Yeah,
I think a lot of clutching people don't realize is like search and destroy is luck, and like there's no other way to put it. You could be in a 1v1 situation, and it's
luck, it's timing.
50. There's different ways you can look at it, timing and luck. I think timing is more of it, but luck in a sense where 1v1 on lockdown, they have bomb, you don't know where he's at, so you're going to take a 50-50 chance and sit A, and hopefully he runs past you or tries to plan A, or in a situation where you're camping mannequin, and I was like, I'm just going to take this 50-50 chance, let my teammates third me. If he plants B, I win it. Automatic win. If he plants A, I'm fucked. I just really think that third spot and the third person ability really takes away from the idea of search and destroy and everything that it brings to Call of Duty.
Yeah, no, I can agree to it. I think the big problem with that is the fact that third personing allows. I think the only good part of it, is the fact that it allows teams to play the objective a bit easier, since you can actually go towards an objective in a more safe manner. Like if you don't have the third person ability, you can just pretty much like I was saying, the European teams that we played the other day, they literally just fucking ran around and just until they found someone, and like it was pretty much like just run and gun and hope you find someone that's not expecting you. It's really what it was. So there's also like I think that's one thing that's a factor. There's just pros and cons to it, and obviously like it's kind of like easy to say that third person is kind of like a wrong. It's not right because by simple logic you shouldn't be able to see what's around your teammate because it's not a third person in game, and it's not something that's part of the game. When you're dead, you're dead. You can't talk to your teammate about what you're seeing around them. It's as simple as that. But like Brian said, there's also the fact that it can like put around. You can see around your player and kind of make it like less random to a certain extent for your teammate. But then again, like Nate Shot said, it's the same fact that if you're that one player that's running around and that his teammate sees, then it's like it's still luck because you still shouldn't be able to see that guy, and your teammate was just looking at the right place at the right time.
Like, I don't think a player should be rewarded for dying. Like,
that's the point.
Advantage.
Yeah. Anyways, that's gonna do it for today, guys. The debate. I actually did plan on having a show as far as like these type of communications and just talking with different people about certain topics. Hopefully, we can have more of these. I'm just gonna leave this one on my channel, so if anyone missed the start or anything in general, you can just watch the rebroadcast. It should be up, and usually it takes like an hour or two before the shit pops up. So. If you guys have any last words, you want to shout yourself out, Revan, go first.
Yo, sick debate, guys. Once again, I'll be casting the Apex show match tonight at 7 o'clock, so 7 p.m. Eastern, so it's in like 2 hours, 30 minutes. Be sure to tune into that. Twitch.tv/ApexTV.
What about you, Nate?
No, I appreciate you having me on the show. Hopefully we can do more of these. I'd love to collaborate with you if that's something you want to do to try and bring this off the ground. But I appreciate you guys watching, and YouTube. We'll see you fucking later.
What about you, Brian?
Nothing much. Just Nate, Revan, Rambo, good talk. Thanks for having me on. I've actually got to run, so I'll talk with you guys later.
I fucking hate your opinions. No.
Later.
All right, later, guys. All right, so that does it for today. Thank you guys for watching. Hope you guys, if you guys have any opinions or anything in general, don't be shy to tweet at me. I usually look at everything. I might not respond to all of them because I got like a shit ton of tweets in the during the streams, and there's a lot of people that are like agreeing and disagreeing. And we have a show match in 2.5 hours. We're playing Obey tonight at around 7:15, whenever Scum gets home, pretty much. And it's gonna be a best of 9, and we're gonna be doing it a bit differently tonight. What we're gonna be doing, instead of doing set matches, we're gonna try what Halo did for the MLG Columbus is the loser picks. So mainly, the team that loses, where the first map's gonna be a set map, or we'll agree on something, and then after that, it's like if you lost the map that you just played, then you get to pick the next map. You don't get to pick the game type. It's gonna be CTF, S&D, CTF, S&D, CTF, S&D. But if you lose the first CTF, then you get to pick the S&D map that you want to play, and then if you lose that same map, then you get to pick the CTF, and if you win that map, then the other team gets to pick the S&D. So on and so forth. I'm pretty sure everyone understands the basic. It's pretty basic example of what's going to happen. So until then, tomorrow or later on tonight, it's going to be on Twitch TV/Apex TV. Grevin's going to be casting, but I don't know who. I don't know if he's going to get someone else or not. But until then, have a good one, guys.